Hi, my name is Ren. I use he, they pronouns, and I am trans, and I also have trans friends. So, yeah,
How did you realize that you were trans?
I had feelings of not being in the right body when I was younger, but I didn't come to the realization until I was around 20 years old. My sister was kind of just like, yeah, if you feel that way, you can just be who you are. I'm pretty confident in my gender right now. I feel like life's a journey, so we're always figuring things out, but I feel more myself than I ever have before. I am out to family members and I am out in public as well. Most of my family is pretty positive about it. My mom and my grandma took a little more time to come around. Like they would need more work to gender me correctly or use the right name, but yeah, they're pretty supportive. I came out to my little sister first, and she's the one who helped me figure out my gender identity. I remember telling her that when I was younger, I always felt like a boy and that I was thinking I should have been born that way or I should have been born with certain body parts. And she was like, you could just be a boy. Like, that's just something you could do.
How does it feel to be misgendered by people that you don't know?
I've gotten pretty used to people misgendering me in public. So, yeah, it doesn't really bother me.
And what about people that you know pretty well?
I've kind of like cut the people off in my life that misgender me or um, don't decide to see me as who I am. My paternal grandmother refuses to recognize me as who I am, so she's not in my life anymore.
Your family, even though they are supportive, is there anything that you would like them to do differently?
I guess I would say that being a trans mask person doesn't necessarily mean I have to be like this now masculine man. That's not the case. Like I'm still very feminine, still like to paint my nails and wear makeup. When you're trans, it doesn't mean that you have to go all one side.
If you could go back in time and tell your younger self anything, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that they weren't born in the wrong body. They just don't have the words for what they're feeling at the moment. It's not weird for them to feel that way, that a lot of people feel that way, and playing with gender is okay.
What advice do you have for trans kids that might be going through their self discovery right now?
Be yourself, like your most authentic self, as much as you can be. When you're young, it is quite okay to just do whatever you feel like to figure things out, whether you want to use a different name temporarily and have your friends use that, or try different pronouns, or cut your hair, or paint your nails.
What about for families of trans kids? What advice do you have for them?
It is always harder for trans youth than it is for cis allies. I think they have a tendency of being like, this is so hard for me and like victimizing themselves, but it definitely is harder for someone else to be discovering themselves, be supportive of them no matter what. Just let them have that space. You don't have to understand something to support it.
When you discovered that you were trans, what resources did you turn to?
I definitely went to Planned Parenthood and talked to them. That's how I got my HRT. I mean, considering I was in Florida, it was pretty great. I was very much spreading out into online, like Instagram and YouTube. There's so many trans people on there, just being themselves. I think that social media can be a really good tool for resources since it's coming straight from the source.
And what resources do you wish you'd had, if any?
I would have really appreciated like having puberty blockers just to have that pause in my life to get to know myself better.
Who would you say is your biggest supporter?
My little sister, the one who helped me come out and discover myself. She's just been there for me since day one. She's confident in who she is now. I'm able to tell her everything. When it comes to gender, she has no judgment. We've gone partying together and I worn a dress. And even though I was wearing a dress, it didn't make me feel any less than who I was. No matter what I'm wearing or what I'm doing, she still sees me as who I am.
How did being on hormone therapy help you?
I just felt more myself. I don't feel the same way that I did before.
What advice do you have for someone who might be about to start HRT or considering it?
There's always a lot more changes than people expect. Just really do like the research on the changes. Even though there's some things that you can't go back on, there is a lot of other things that are reversible. So you could always stop whenever you want.
What's it like using multiple sets of pronouns?
A lot of people just use my first pronouns. There's some who use my second set, which is they, them. There's not a lot of people who use the fae pronouns, but it feels really, really nice to hear all of them.
Speaking of neopronouns, what's it like using those and how is that different?
A lot of times in a lot of spaces, I'll only put like he, they because a lot of people don't understand neopronouns. With my few close friends who use my neopronouns, it feels really affirming. Since it's fae, it feels a little different than human. So it also makes me feel otherworldly, which is nice because I don't like to feel normy all the time. So
If it did, how did the pandemic and the spread of social media impact your gender identity experience?
I pretty much started discovering myself the most when the pandemic came about. We were going through isolation, a lot of time to think and discover, and I was seeing a lot of fighting for trans justice on social media.
What are your thoughts on gender reassignment surgery?
I actually already got top surgery, and I feel like that was such a major step towards me feeling more welcome in my own body. Bottom surgery is something I've thought about, but it's not necessary for me to feel more okay in my body.
Do you still experience gender dysphoria? And if so, what does that feel like?
I do sometimes. People may think that this is like counterintuitive, but like when I'm not wearing makeup, I feel less like myself.
Do you experience gender euphoria? And what does that feel like?
Oh, yes, all the time, especially when I'm with a group of other trans people and we're all just being ourselves. When I wear makeup, that gives me a lot of euphoria, or when I wear certain clothes, that gives me a lot of euphoria. It's really, really nice.
Did you ever call like a support hotline or anything?
I called the Trevor Project support line. They weren't like too helpful. They did pick up and they did answer, but it just wasn't what I needed at that moment. I think reaching out to your community or other trans people or other friends is like way more support than a support line can be.
And how does the country that you live in impact your trans experience?
I think it's definitely hard. There's a lot of bills against us right now. Sometimes it feels like we're just trying so hard to exist and it could be like really defeating. But when you look within your own community and you see all these trans folk thriving or helping each other and uplifting each other, it just feels lighter. I have lots of trans friends. Almost all my friends are trans at this point.
Did you know any of them pre-transition?
Oh, yes, quite a few.
Did any of your friends talk to you or anyone else in your group or community before talking to family members?
Yes, definitely. One of my friends, she was like nervous to talk to her family because they were never like open to receiving. They were always pretty closed off and said negative things about trans people. So she talked to me about it first.
My last question is just, is there anything else that you would like to share about your story or just anything that you feel needs to be said or heard?
It's definitely not a walk in the park and it's definitely not a fad. I know a lot of people think like it's just a trend to be trans, but it's really beautiful to see older trans people and younger trans people coming together and getting that knowledge from the older community as well. And just knowing that we have struggles too. Like it's not easy to be trans, whether you're on hormones or not, whether you want surgery or not. There's a lot of people who just don't understand what that's like. So they'll just never understand how truly hard it can be. So really just being supportive, even if you don't understand, trying your best to see someone as they are, not just using pronouns because they said they use those pronouns, or not just using a name because they said they using that name, but actually seeing them as who they say they are. Thank you.